What's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint.
And it's your girl Fee.
We're here with The Boys Season 1 recap. We are going to be talking spoilers, so if you want to keep watching, stay tuned. Alright, so like I said, we just got done watching The Boys. I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was really good. Production-wise, the CGI was really good. They definitely changed some things from the books when they adapted this to the show, which is on Amazon Prime, by the way. Amazon's trying to step their game up. First of all, I never thought they would even make this book into a show. That's like the last story. If I looked at all these books on what would be changed to a show.
Like, I read it, which was coincidental, and then like a couple of months later, they announced that they were doing a show, and I was like, I like literally just read this.
Like,
and it is,
you mean this book?
Like this book that I just literally read, and then I was like, after all the stuff that I read in it, I couldn't believe. I was like, why would they pick this book? Because this is like going to be so difficult to make.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job. I mean, it's definitely R rating. Like, even, you know when you watch a movie and it says like rated R because it has mature content and
vulgar language, drugs.
This, it has like a laundry list of like rape. It has sodomy. It has like
drug use, profane language, killing, like just so much stuff.
So anyway, it's on Amazon Prime, and Fee was really upset that a lot of stuff was changed from the books.
I will give you that the story was still good. Like, it was still good, but it's like, I mean, I figured it'd be based on the book. I mean, it's loosely based on the book.
I don't know. I mean, all the characters are there, but some of their characteristics are different. Some of the plot is a little bit different. But looking at IMDb, Garth Ennis gets writing credits on this. So
I saw that too. But I'm just like, how could you it's a different story. It has like parts that are kind of similar, but it's very different.
So before we talk about like the differences from the show to the book, which didn't really bother me because I read The Boys about 3 or 4 years ago. Fee read it about 3 or 4 months ago, so it was more fresh in your mind. Before we get into the differences, let's talk about the cast.
Okay.
So we have Carl Urban, who played Billy Butcher, who I think killed it.
Yeah, he was cast perfectly.
And if they're going to make a Mortal Kombat movie, they should cast him as Kano.
Please.
Ear to ear.
Ear to ear.
He had the accent down right, and as I'm watching Carl Urban, I'm like, yo, this is like Garth Ennis writing himself.
See, you said that to me, and I was like, I don't really know anything about Garth Ennis, so I don't really know.
Garth Ennis, I'm pretty sure he's English. And all the slang and that kind of stuff, you wanker, and all this stuff they say, I'm pretty sure that's how Garth Ennis talks, because he always writes like that in all his stories. You ever notice that? Huey, I felt, I really liked the character Huey. He was played by Jack Quaid. I really liked him, but he seemed a little different from the character in the comics. The character in the comics felt much older.
Not much older,
when he was
but
bald.
slightly older. First of all, I mean, I talked to somebody else in the Geminites about this, but the person who played his father was who Huey should, like, that's the guy who should have played Huey. He looked exactly like the character.
But I really liked this character. I liked the chemistry between him and Annie, who is what is it?
Starlight.
Starlight was really good. He was funny. He was charismatic. I really liked how they portrayed Huey here. I thought he was great. Jack Quaid did a great job. Erin, how do you say her name? Mority played Annie January. Yeah, Annie January, a.k.a. Citizen Starfire. She was really good too, man. Starlight. Yeah, I'm thinking Teen Titans. She was really good, man. She reminded me a lot like a young Reese Witherspoon, man. Like some Cruel Intentions type vibe. She pretty as hell, man. She was cute. She did really good. I liked her character. Then you had Anthony Starr as Homelander. Yo, Anthony Starr acted the hell out of this role.
I didn't initially like him because I wanted because I feel like Homelander's a much larger.
He looked ripped though especially with that suit.
That suit was all padding, but I mean it was still really like.
Yo, he had a lot of range.
Once he got into it, like just the psychotic, like he'd be filming like being really like. You know,
but like, hey,
red-blooded American,
yeah.
And then as soon as there's something, you guys done? Like, just blank. Like,
he can switch it on and off from being so evil and twisted to being like that superhero, like who you would, America's superhero. He was scary as hell. He was intimidating. And then he turned it on, man. He turned on that charm when them cameras were on. We talked about a couple of the main characters. Like, basically the premise behind The Boys is that we're living in a world where there's superheroes, and the superheroes are a huge corporation. Vought is the name of the company, and they make movies out of them. They're on advertisements, their social media ratings. That's what it's all about. It's more about that and less about saving people.
You could literally understand what it's like to live there if you just imagine that all of the Avengers were real.
Right, if they
were real, like they actually did what they did,
right.
That's what this movie is.
And the idea behind the book was,
or the show,
that's the facade that's put on, that they're these great superheroes, but really they do all this kind of messed up stuff behind the scenes, and this company kind of covers it up, and the comic books published cover it up, and the movies to make it seem like they're really good people, but really they're like involved in these crazy orgies and scandals and drugs and all this stuff. So that's kind of the vibe of the show. And Starlight is inducted into this version's Justice League, which is called the Seven. The Seven is like the main A-lister superhero group. It's their Avengers, it's their Justice League. And she gets inducted and she starts to find out the hard way, it's not what it looks like on TV.
Right.
That's kind of the thing here. Now, Huey, he's just a regular guy. He's got a girlfriend named Robin. They're in love. And just like in the comics, he's holding her hands on the sidewalk in New York City. And all of a sudden, she's there and she's gone.
She's dust. She just vaporizes.
The blood squirts on his face. It pans to her. And you see like a big cloud of red mist and jaw and spines. And basically, a speedster named A-Train accidentally ran right through her. And in the books, it was more like, these are the casualties you don't see from superheroes. I guess it was like that in the show, too. Mm-hmm. They really killed that scene, man. We were even watching it, both knowing what was going to happen. And we were like, oh, man, she's about to go. And, he looks down, and he's holding her hands that are severed from her body. Oh, it's crazy.
And just the movement, they were like, it was just really well done.
So Billy Butcher steps in and approaches Huey, because now he's got leverage with Huey to kind of join
leverage.
To join his crusade, which is how he was inducted, we find out later, from somebody from the CIA. Now, one of the differences from season 1, it doesn't feel like Butcher is part of any government organization, but in the books, they were definitely like an organization.
Yeah, in the books, it starts out like
we're the boys.
Butcher is bringing Huey into an already existing group. In the show,
he's solo.
Butcher is kind of like, people don't really like him. Every time he approaches someone for a help, they're like, you always come to me with this
like Frenchie,
and
which is one of the boys.
And then Frenchie isn't it was like there should have already been a team.
So I think what they're doing is, it seems like he kind of made a deal with the CIA in this season to set that up. So they end this season on a cliffhanger. It's not a one and done. They're definitely going to stretch this out for another season, maybe 2 more. But maybe they're going to have that organization in the next seasons. So I just wanted to give some backstory because we started talking about the characters. Now, we mentioned Frenchie. Frenchie is one of the boys. He's played by Tomer Capone, who is kind of like, I don't know what you would call him. He's kind of like the go-to guy for explosives.
Like Matt, he can fashion things. Like Huey came to me, he's like, you can make something out of anything, right?
He's like the go-to guy to I don't even know how to explain what he does.
He thinks of unconventional ways of getting stuff done,
solving problems.
He's a problem solver.
And then you got MM.
But he also has knowledge of chemistry and electricity.
That's what I'm saying. He said it best. I know a little bit about everything.
Yes.
That's kind of his thing. He's like a jack of all trades. Then you got MM, which is Mother's Milk, which is played by Laz Alonso, who's the muscle. Now, when they first introduced him, he's working in this correctional facility, and everybody's scared shitless of him. So I thought he had powers.
And the kids were in line, they were kind of being good.
Because in the books, we have this compound V, which you can inject and have superpowers. In the books, Butcher's already injected. So is MM. I think has superpowers from his mother being injected and him breastfeeding from her. She's like a mutant. And anyway, in the book, he shoots Huey in the neck with it right away, so he can go toe to toe with these soups.
That was another thing that I just so they didn't already know about the comic. It was first of all, everybody is around Compound V all the time. That threw me off too.
In the book, it was already known. In the show, they find out what it is and they get a hold of it. So that's a big revelation in the show, that all of these superheroes were injected at birth with Compound V. None of these are God-given gifts.
Or their parents were.
Right. All these, they're not God-given gifts, which is how it was kind of sold to the public. It's really just all Lab experiments.
How Annie was sold it because she thought that she was born with her powers.
Exactly.
She finds out later that was not.
And she came up in like the Christian circuit of doing like expos and like beauty pageants, and her whole life was kind of a lie because her mother was just one of those selfish pageant mothers, kind of a thing. I mentioned Robin, which is Huey's girlfriend, getting killed by a speedster. The speedster is played by A-Train, or the character is A-Train, played by Jesse T. Usher, and I really like how they depict the heroes here. He looks like he's all fresh, got a fresh haircut, these crazy kind of Oakley glasses, fresh fit. He's got his own little logo. All the characters are like their own little franchises. And you have him, and then you have like their Aquaman, which he's called the Deep, which they changed him a little bit, and they make him sexually assault Starlight in the beginning.
Singularly, which is not how it happens
in the book. It was all of them. It was Homelander, Black Noir, wasn't it? Like
and the Deep.
They make her go down on all of them to kind of join. And this one is just the Deep, and you know I can see why they changed that. I guess the biggest thing that they changed, man, is like Homelander and Black Noir, right? So break that down for me because I forget how it works in the comics. But aren't they like twins or like clones?
Well, Homelander was, like, as you saw, created like in a lab type situation. He wasn't raised by mother and father. He was raised by like a doctor and just sort of never got like that affection as a child. So, which is probably plays to his, craziness in his mind.
Yeah.
And then they tried to duplicate Homelander, which resulted in Black Noir.
Yeah.
But they couldn't, Black Noir is in what he's wearing because the public can't know that was the situation.
Right, he looks like Homelander.
Yeah, he looks like Homelander. That's what I got from the book. I don't know
in
what's going to happen in the show.
In the book, isn't he dressing up like Homelander and he's the one doing all the messed up stuff?
Yeah, he's the one doing the terrible things in the book, but right out the gates, Homelander admits to
him doing it.
I'm like, that's not how I remember this happening. Maybe I'm remembering the book wrong, but I think...
Black Noir is played by Nathan Mitchell. We never really see him, so they give him credit. Madeline Stillwell, which is played by Elizabeth Shue. She is like the director of Vought. She reminds me of Chelsea Handler.
You just kept... I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. He's like, the late night lady.
She reminds me just like Chelsea Handler. She's like a middle-aged woman, single mother with a baby.
Like very assertive, like
very
powerful,
corporate.
very corporate.
Yeah. Who else is worth noting here?
Oh, and then the whole aspect of Frenchie and the female, like their whole dynamic and like they were like lesser characters I remember in the story. I mean, yes, they were part of the main group, but Frenchie's always angry, it seems like. He wasn't always angry in the book, and he's very, he was very caring and gentle with...
The female, Karen, is played by Karen Fukuhara, and it shows their origin of meeting in the show, whereas in the comics, they're already kind of like a duo. And her story in the show is that somebody is injecting terrorists with Compound V, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So we find out that really it's Homelander. In order to get a military contract, which is like Vaught's goal.
Yeah, that's like the goal for like the...
For Vought. They want that military. They want that military money. So Homelander admits to Stillwell that he went around and he gave Compound V to all these different terrorist organizations so that they can have supervillains that can only be fought by superheroes, and that this way the military would need them. So he's twisted as hell. They even have this airplane scene where they have to go save this airplane that's been hijacked. He goes up there with, and who we forgot to mention.
Queen Maeve.
Queen Maeve, who's played by Dominique McElligott, which she's like a Wonder Woman type character who's very good. She's a beat up, battered, been there, done that, seen all the messed up shit these guys have been up to. And anyway, they go up to the plane. And in the book, it shows you, like, this is why these guys can't be trusted, because they don't have proper training.
Yeah, like, there's, like, no handbook on how to handle these types of situations.
Yeah, sure. They go up there, they kill the terrorists, but they don't realize there's still one in the cockpit. He kills the guy in the cockpit, but kills the pilot and the controls. He's like, I don't know how to fly this plane.
And she's telling him, like, just go into the plane. Like, he's like, you don't understand. There's, like, velocity. Yeah. Like, there's other factors. Like, yes, I'm very strong. I can fly. He goes, but I'm in the air. I don't have anything I can push off
But he could have tried, though.
I mean, he could have tried, but he said, if I'm going too fast and I go from the bottom, he goes, I could just go straight through the hole, and I'm not pushing anything.
He's like, if I grab it from the nose, it'll top heavy. He's like, look, let's just get out of here. He has no remorse. Or no human compassion. he's like, yo, let's just get out of here.
Well, then she tries to grab the little girl, and he's like, if you do this, they will tell everyone that we didn't do anything. We're going to dip. And then she's like, yo, that was a really difficult scene to watch. Because
the mother and
they're
little girl.
screaming back. They're trying to pull Maeve back into the plane, and he's just like,
this show is rated R.
Oh, Popclaw was a big character too.
Yeah, so Popclaw played by Brittany Allen. She was kind of like an X-23 type of character, and she was A-Train's girlfriend. That they weren't public. He would just see her on the side because his image was that he was like a player type of available guy, kind of like what you would see with like musicians or like athletes or something. And you know that's one of the ways that the boys infiltrate this organization through Popclaw, because she accidentally murders her landlord. It's a whole long thing. This season has 8 episodes, which I really like. These short season, kind of like Stranger Things, 45-minute or so episodes.
No, like an hour. They're like an hour.
To an hour.
Yeah.
So that is episode 1. The name of the game was very comic accurate, man. They really nailed the essence of the boys. That was a really good episode. They did start straying a little bit, like some of the things that we talked about later on. Some of the characters' history with each other and the way they interact, and the Compound V stuff, the Homelander Black Noir stuff.
You never see Terror the dog. You show it once in a flashback, and he's just laying in.
Wasn't he injected in Compound V in the book or something? He's like a badass in the book.
Yeah, I don't know. Know. He's just a bulldog. He never does. I mean, maybe he does. Huey's dad. Huey's whole story. He's not foreign, because that was one of the.
He was like a British guy.
That was one of the parts of the story, was that Butcher had to like get him these documents so he could get temporary status in America, so that he could work. One whole book is like all talking about when Huey goes back home after him and Annie have a falling out because they both think that they were doing stuff against each other, which they got to those parts of the story so
the thing with
fast.
Huey and Annie in the book, they keep meeting at this park and they both don't know who they really are.
It's like a Romeo and Juliet thing where there's two sides of a.
In the show, Huey knows who she is off top. Like after one episode, he knows who she is. So that is a little different, and he kind of ends up reluctantly using her to forward their interests, to find out more about the Seven and everything like that. So that was a little different, but I guess it was just more condensed. You know, I mean, and the books go like 60-something issues, or like 90 issues or something. So it was a little bit more condensed.
They pulled stuff from, like, they brought things that happened sooner. They really rearranged the order that, like, the chronological order.
Yeah, but none of that bothered me. I still felt like it did the book justice. I think it's really cool that they pulled off this story for a TV show. You guys should definitely watch it. I mean, I definitely think it's an enjoyable 8 episodes. You can knock that out in a weekend.
Throw the book out the window. Don't even worry about the story. Just watch it because it is.
Nah,
it's not like.
I think you should. No, you should read the book because
Mother's Milk isn't even a soup. Like he's a soup in the book, off the top.
I'm pretty sure they all have enhanced strength because they inject themselves with Compound V. Maybe they do that in season 2.
Well, also in the show, it's like they have to continue. Like, A-Train can like get high off of taking it. Like,
otherwise he's getting washed up.
Butcher hits Huey with it one time, and from then on he's strong.
Because Huey gets freaked out, like, now I'm going to be like this forever type of shit.
And I'm like, so why is he continually using it?
Like, in the book, they have, like, a Stan Lee type character who writes all their comics, but they write them, like, as a super perv, too. They didn't really do the comic book aspect, and I guess they made it more modern, and everything was with movies and social media ratings. But I think you guys should still read the books. They have a lot more characters that are like X-Men type characters, like the G-Men and G-Force, and we haven't got introduced really to any of those guys. Yo, you know who they had in here? So it's funny. These are A-lister soups, right? And then they introduce like C-lister soups, like our guy, what's his name? Magnificent or something?
Oh, Mesmera?
Mesmera, who can touch you and kind of like see your past or thoughts. And he's played by the kid from The Sixth Sense.
So you guys are gonna say it in the comments. He's got a super easy, like when you hear his name, you'll be like, I know that name.
Oh, want me to find his name?
Oh yeah, he's in there. Just go, yeah.
Mesmer, played by Haley Joel Osment.
Yes, there we go. We didn't even talk about how the whole reason that Butcher does this whole thing, his wife, that whole story was twisted up too and wrong.
Yeah, so the reason why Butcher's got a hard on for these soups is because Homelander raped his wife and she disappeared ever since. And he has like this footage of her from this park bench, looking like the same park bench that Huey and Annie are on.
Well, no, they don't have any benches next to them, but like in the book, Homelander rapes Butcher's wife.
Right.
She gets pregnant because like the baby grows like really fast or whatever.
Which happened in the show.
And Butcher walks in on his wife. She hadn't been feeling good for a couple days because they were on vacation or something. And he comes home. His wife is dead in bed, and this baby is like floating with laser beam. I had to kill the baby in the show.
Yeah.
At the cliffhanger. Is that she's alive and the kid is alive.
Right, because Butcher thinks... Well, she's been missing for 8 years.
8 years.
Butcher thinks either Homelander killed her or she killed herself. So the whole cliffhanger is that Homelander and Butcher find her with the kid who's 8 years old and has superpowers.
And Homelander didn't even know that she was alive either. He just found out this stuff too.
And we don't know if she was raped or not. Because Homelander said she was a good lay. He made it seem like it was consensual. And she did disappear.
But her leaving that room where they were for 3 hours, she was disheveled. Like she was frazzled. She sat on that park bench for 3 hours. He said she didn't move a muscle.
I think she sat in there for 8 hours or something.
Oh, I don't know. It was many hours.
So maybe he did. So, I mean, Homelander's really messed up. I mean, he's got a mother complex with Stillwell, and she kind of babies him, and they do sexual things too, and like...
But she's like... I don't know if she's like if they made her look at the age that she is, or she really is that
they made her
age
look
in
older?
real life. But she's like definitely like over a woman having a baby over 40. Like she's a older woman. She's not elderly, but she's just a mature woman.
What other stuff did she play in? So she was in Hollow Man. She was in Molly. Back to the Future 2 and 3.
I told you she was in Back to the Future.
Parker,
I told you she was in Back to the Future.
She was Jennifer. That's
Adventures
right.
in Babysitting.
His girlfriend, Marty's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit. So personally, I mean, I like it when they change it up a little bit. Because, I mean, it gives you... So you don't expect everything. You know, there's going to be some changes and some twists. I'm excited to see Season 2.
I honestly, like, I'm still sitting here, like... I don't think Translucent was a
Remember
character...
Translucent?
Translucent wasn't a character at all in the book.
Yeah, so
The Seven was... It was Lamplighter... Who died, which they didn't even gone into the reanimation that they tried to do.
But didn't they say Lamplighter was that terrorist guy who lit up and exploded himself?
I said that. I said that because I thought that they were going to go to the reanimation stuff. This is a completely new character, not in the book at all.
Yeah. That was Huey. So Huey actually came through a few times. He killed Translucent, the soup. They figured out they could shove dynamite up his ass and explode him because he has diamond hard skin that goes camouflage.
He doesn't really turn invisible. His skin just reflects light a certain way, and it's funny because she's. I guess that in the Sevens, like where they all are supposed to live communally, they have like a bathroom. It looks like a public bathroom. It's got stalls and like many, and she's in there, crying because she just got done, with the deep and whatever.
Yeah.
And she's crying in the bathroom and. Maeve is in there, and she's like leaving. She's like, "You're such a pervert," and he just turns himself. You can see he's completely naked, and he just walks out.
He's just a voyeur.
He spends all his free time with his kids. So whenever Huey found that out, he's like, "Oh God, I killed him."
Oh yeah, and then the Deep is funny. He kind of has to come clean about sexually assaulting Starlight, and then he gets booted from the Seven, has to make a public apology, and then you see him get bumped down to like a D-lister, and he's like the superhero of Scranton or something like that afterward, or something like that.
It's like they set this, they changed this character, and then they like, it doesn't even make sense because he does this terrible thing like, oh, you have to, suck my dick to get into the Seven, and the whole rest of the show, he's just like, well, we gotta pick all the garbage up off the beach, and I love all he's trying to save lobsters from the grocery store.
So
and
that's right.
It's like, well, why did you do this terrible thing?
You mentioned that in the beginning because I guess that's his MO. Because Stillwell says, yeah, you're going to apologize before she comes out or all the other women. So maybe that was just his one vice, that he was like a sexual assaulter, because the way they wrote him in every other episode, he's this caring humanitarian.
Fragile little, like, guys,
he had the gills on his stomach.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think about The Boys in the comments below. Make sure to drop that like and subscribe to the channel. We're dropping daily content. So stay minty. Peace.